reorganizing my workshop. And part of this process has been hauling out wood that I have been hoarding like a crazy person on my premise. And today was the third visit from Mr. Bo, is how we will refer to him, Mr. Bo Reese, who has a 16-foot trailer that I have now filled 3 times with wood-turning wood that I have been slowly getting rid of and getting rid of construction material. But big shout out to Mr. Bo Reese, who has been a wonderful help as we reorganize and I get over, evidently, my compulsion to bring logs home in tiny pieces.
TJ, we went live.
Yeah, I know. Hey, sometimes a confession is the best way to start a show.
Welcome, everybody, to episode 159. We are joined by Mr. Patrick Gensel of Crafted with Machines.
What is up?
We're going to get into that. We're going to get into all about him in a moment. TJ, run through the sponsors real quick and we'll get into the show.
Good deal. Every week we start the show off by thanking Hannah and the team over at Surf Prep Sanding Systems and Abrasives. Look at that hat right there. That's so classy. God, somebody get this man 2 monocles.
It's like I planned that.
Yeah. So we don't spend enough time talking about Surf Prep's dust collector, but let me tell you, listeners, if you are doing something that is fine particle dust generating, not just using a table saw or a miter saw or your bandsaw, but let's say you are sanding, and you're sanding something like plaster or MDF that's going to make the tiniest of dust. The HEPA filtration, the HEPA filtration that they have on the Surf Prep dust collector is tip top. Good luck finding something in that price range that does what that thing does as well as it does. Check it out at surfprep.com. And if you're shopping there and you're going to pick one up, use coupon code Sawdust Talk and you'll save a couple extra bucks on it too. And on an item like that, it's going to be countable money. So go check that out. If you want to get Sawdust Talk merchandise and you want to wear a Sawdust Talk shirt because you think, you know what, TJ and Jessie, you guys run a tight ship that doesn't ramble or meander. Let me tell you, you go to kcbombshell.com and you can find our gear there and you can be snuggled close in the warm embrace of a Sawdust Talk t-shirt. Also, we need to have a long-winded discussion about Makers for St. Jude in the months of June and July. There is a push to get more people active and participating in Makers for St. Jude in 2025. And if you post an auction, where are we pointing at? Yeah, Patrick, we're looking at you, Patrick. If you get involved and you get an auction up in the months of June and July, you will be entered in a fabulous drawing. The prizes exist in a multitude where if you participate once, you may end up winning 2 prizes. It is the generosity of the sponsors for this event have been completely overwhelming. So get involved, get a hold of me, get a hold of Jessie, get a hold of Mike over at Woodworker versus Cancer or the Makers for St. Jude. Heck, reach out to Surf Prep if you want to. They're happy to help as well. Get involved, get awesome, and then take the awesome things that you make to do something awesome for somebody who needs your help. And lastly, this show has a Patreon. It's a very small Patreon, but every penny counts. And for just $5 a month, which is less than a double Whopper with cheese at Burger King, you could help send Jessie and I to the maker meetups and the events and cover some lodging and some travel expenses so that we can give you the high fives that you want in person so dearly. So go check out Patreon/Sawdust Talk.
Perfect. I don't think you missed anything. Patrick, how's it going?
Good.
How long
other than being a little tired, but I'm good.
How long did you say it's been since you've been on Sawdust Talk?
590 days as of when I did that promo on Monday, I think that was. So yeah, it's been a year and a half or so.
So what's
Well, we missed you.
I missed you too.
I know you did.
Tell the people what's new.
Lots and lots of YouTube stuff. I actually just launched a podcast of my own all around digital fabrication and whatnot. It's a solo podcast, and it's tied directly to my Crafted with Machines brand. I didn't have a actual YouTube video ready last week, so I'm like, I'm just going to start a podcast. It was just like literally that day. I'm like, I need to put something up. I'm going to start a podcast and try and commit to this thing every other week. So it's going to go, I try and do a video every other week, a normal video. So this is going to go on the off weeks that I'm not doing a normal video.
Oh, right
I
on.
think that's perfect. That's like
Yeah.
good balance too.
Yeah, because doing the podcast thing, I need to come up with like an outline, and I just hit record on my camera and start talking. And if I sound stupid, I sound stupid.
You know what you're talking about, though. You're not new to teaching.
That's true. That's true. It is a lot easier to talk when you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So tell us a little more about digital fabrication. What does that mean to you?
So digital fabrication is how I've been identifying myself as far as my making skill set for the last couple of years. To me, it is 3D printing, laser cutting, CNC manufacturing, 3D modeling, anything that starts its life on a computer, more or less, but then becomes a physical thing or has the ability to become a physical thing, but exists first in digital space.
Very cool.
So yeah, that's how I describe digital fabrication.
I love it. And you, this is kind of part of your like rebrand too, because has it been like 6 months now since you changed?
Oh yeah, it was back in, well, I started the idea like a year ago for Crafted with Machines, but I officially pulled the trigger on it on January 1st.
Nice.
So yeah, it has been 6 months.
Yeah. It's June already. That's crazy. So go ahead.
What was that change like? I mean, because you were always just Patrick Gensel. That was like your handle, and that's what you went off of. Is this just like you like kind of like niching down into what you know?
Yeah. So I've always struggled with picking something and settling and sticking with it. And it's a little bit of an ADHD tendency. But as I've taken my maker journey and realized that making things with digital tools is what I know the most, what I love the most, I felt it was time to turn it into a brand that's more than just me. So that's where Crafted with Machines kind of came off of that idea of I love the idea of just being myself, my name, but if I want to grow my content business to be something that can stand on its own, I needed a brand. So that's where Crafted with Machines came in. And it kind of embodies the whole digital fabrication. Like I'm literally crafting things with machines.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about 3D scanning with you because I find it absolutely captivating, and there's not a whole lot of easily found people making content with 3D scanning. I know we have like the 3D Maker project that Dave was working on where he was scanning all the cool kids at the maker meetups and whatnot, but watching people turn scanned items, images, and things into tangible goods or using it for manufacturing is something that we're not seeing a whole lot of. So could you give us a brief, maybe not so brief, give us a long-winded explanation of what you're doing with it and how it's been relevant to what you're up to?
So I've been working with Shining 3D and Einstar for a couple months now, thanks to Dave for helping or starting that relationship for me. But their equipment's been awesome. I've been using the Einstar Vega, which is a completely untethered 3D scanning device. You don't need to be hooked to a computer like you had to in the past. So it kind of gives you the freedom to go where you want to go to scan things. And perfect example of that is what I was just holding up. So this is a pine tree, I believe it was, from a local state park that I scanned 2 weeks ago. And I turned it into this cool little cup for my desk. And you can see every little like detail of the bark on the tree and where there's little offshoots of the roots. So pretty cool. And before you could really have a scanner that was not tethered to a computer, you'd literally, if you wanted to do something like that, you'd be out there with your laptop and having somebody carry your laptop while you go around the tree. It just wouldn't be easy. So having this newer technology where you can do it without being tethered it opens up a lot of opportunity for 3D scanning.
Well, and it's crazy too, because I mean, you think about when Dave started scanning people, that's what it was. It was his big clunky thing in his laptop, and he'd have that out on a table at Maker Camp, and he'd be scanning people, and now he just whips out this, it looks like it's like the size of a Switch.
Yeah, it is.
A Nintendo Switch, and just off he goes. So
yeah, that's actually how I met Dave. I knew him through Instagram, but in person, I just walked up to him when he was doing the 3D scanning a couple years ago at Maker Camp, and of course, I wanted to be scanned, so I waited in line in the freezing cold for 45 minutes to get my chance to be captured digitally in eternity. But yeah, that was how I met Dave, and now I'm playing with 3D scanning myself and having a lot of fun.
That's super cool.
So with this mobile 3D scanner, can you create dimensionally accurate and also scalable, essentially 3D photographs that are also STLs, so that like if I have 3 bricks on the side of my house break, and then you could take a dimensionally accurate scan of the hole that those 3 bricks are in, could you then take that relief and turn it into a positive shape and then generate in the media of your choice or capacity for working a plug for that hole?
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually, let me grab it. I have an example of that right here.
Do you have 3 lost bricks off the side of your house?
Well, he's got a hole in a plug.
So this is a Milwaukee driver that I 3D scanned the driver and then made a negative of it into this Gridfinity tray so that I can just drop it in there and set it in my drawer, so it's got a place where it belongs. Because like most people, if you don't have a place for a tool to live, it gets lost.
Yep.
So yeah, that's the opposite of what you're explaining, basically what I did with that tray.
But oh my gosh, so like for niche and vintage and collectible things that have application, it's crazy awesome.
So here's a good example of how powerful it is as a technology. So my father-in-law has an old classic car, and one of the vinyl pillar covers for the car is damaged, and they're out of production. So I'm going to 3D scan the right side, the side that's still in good shape, and then mirror it, and then 3D print it or have it cast and poured so that he has that part it's not in production anymore.
Right, but then if you also need to make another one that's twice as big,
scale it up. It's an STL.
Yeah, it's just a couple of clicks, right?
Yeah, and you said something interesting, or you said something interesting earlier about kind of referring to it as a 3-dimensional photograph, and that's exactly what it is. When you turn texture mapping on, if I scan your face is textured onto the 3D model as it looks in real life. So when you render it out, there's a TJ head with fully detailed, colored, textured an overlay on that 3D model.
God, that's so awesome.
It's wild.
But that also means that, like, if you were really big into doing dioramas, you could find a place in public with your now mobile 3D scanner, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a pipe on the side of a building, right?
Yep.
Scan that space, duplicate it in your home, create a diorama, and then go install it so that it looks like it had always been there.
Yeah.
Duh.
It's a matter of once you get that 3D model into physical space, it's just a matter of finishing it so it looks like it's part of where you're adding it to.
Man, I could be trusted with a 3D scanner, but I feel like I would only use it for nefarious purposes and devious fun.
It is a lot of fun, I'll tell you that. I haven't done anything nefarious with it. I'm sure I
Would
could
you
think of
admit it?
something. What's that?
I said, would you admit it if you did?
Probably not. I can't think of anything off the top of my. Maybe I could.
Okay, but like also, so you and I briefly chatted at the beginning of the year when you made an awesome New Year's resolution bingo card, which I grabbed a hold of and ran with in my journal that week. But you talked about potentially doing an arcade project, right?
Yep, that's still on my list and probably only a month or two out because I'm itching to have a physical arcade in this office, and now I can justify it because it's going to be a YouTube video.
Yeah, well, I have picked up my CRT monitor that I'm going to be installing into my cabinet, and
oh wow, you're definitely committing to the old school vibe with the CRT.
Oh, okay, well, after show we'll talk about TJ's arcade gaming world record that he holds.
I think we've talked about this before,
Okay,
but definitely want to hear it again.
That's an after show subject because we're here to talk about you. But creating the marquees for various CRT tubes, or if you're going to be hacking apart a television and you're pulling the tube out of an old CRT, being able to scan and get a dimensionally accurate depiction of the shape and the curvature and the profile so that you can then essentially model out a marquee that fits into your cabinet. It's like
that's what's killer about it, because like I can design abstract or difficult to measure things in Fusion easily, but recreating something that's like I tried recreating one of my knives has like weirdly shaped scales on it. I tried recreating it so I could print my own, and it was just such a weird space that without a 3D scanner, it was really difficult to get the measurements nailed. So now with 3D scanning, you can recreate those really odd shaped things that are that involve a lot of geometry and trigonometry that I don't have the skill set for to create without something like a 3D scanner.
Right. And then because of the other tools that you have access to, assuming it dimensionally fits within the scope and scale of what your tools are capable of, you can then ask a robot to work on it for you in the meantime while you can focus on moving to the next step. And in the name of efficiency, it's wicked awesome.
And I'm realizing more and more that even the footprint of the machines that I have isn't a limitation as long as you're willing to piece things together. I had to make a sign for a client 2 weeks ago, and they wanted it to be 5 feet long, and my Thunder laser only is 2.5, 3 feet long. So I took the sign and I sliced it up, and then I layered it together with the joints offset, and then I wood filled the joints and sprayed it, and you couldn't tell that it was 5 pieces.
That's so crazy. You use the tiling method though?
No, I cut it up in Illustrator and then just brought the individual pieces into Lightburn and cut it that way.
Oh wow.
The tiling would work too, but I just spend so much time in Illustrator. That's just where my mind went, was just to cut it up there and lay it out.
I mean, there's no like one right way to do something.
No, there's so many ways to do things.
That's why it's nice to have people to talk to and bounce ideas off of, because
for sure,
like tunnel vision on one way to do something, and somebody else is like, "Oh, I just do it like this." It's like, "Oh, that makes sense." To me.
I had a moment like that today. So, if you guys saw yesterday, I'm prototyping a crossbow that's 3D printed and laser cut. My goal is to completely build this crossbow from laser cut and 3D printed parts. And I was making the actual limbs today out of ash, and they kept cracking when I would go to load them to put the bowstring on. So I watched some YouTube videos of some people who have made them in the past, and I never thought to laminate thin strips of wood together with glue in a form to give it a little bit of arc to begin with, so that when the glue dries and you take it out of the form, you already have that arc. Then you can load it. So that was one perfect example of you have tunnel vision of a certain thing and a certain way of doing things, and you just got to step out of that and let somebody else inspire you sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. I want to pivot a little bit, because I mean, I know that you like kind of niche down, like you like your machines and making things that start on the computer. But business wise, I mean, where you talk about clients, you do client projects. You do some stuff for yourself, YouTube, but like where do you see like financially the most benefit from Crafted with Machines?
So my actual business entity is Pine and Print Ltd. That's my Etsy shop, and that's kind of what I bill everything through. And I've been kind of heading in the direction of doing prototyping and design work for clients. So I'm working with a couple clients now who have ideas that they want to take to market, but they don't have the skill to create a prototype or don't even know where to begin with that. So I'm working with some clients to take their idea and take it to market. So with the client I'm working with most recently, we're in the process of kind of doing some discovery on how we can make this product. And then I'm going to do all the design work for the product from a Fusion and CAD standpoint. I'm going to create a working prototype for them with 3D printing. Then that gives them digital files and a physical asset to take to a manufacturer to get injection mold tooling made to make something more commercially viable.
That's insane.
Yeah, so that's...
How do you even go about... Well, okay, two-part question. How did you find this client? And B, how do you even begin to know what to charge for this kind of service?
So A, it was word of mouth. So somebody knew this guy who needed this work, and then they were referred to someone who didn't have the time to do it, and they referred it to me. So it was kind of like a 7 degrees of Kevin Bacon type thing.
Mm-hmm.
But then on the pricing front, so I'll be completely transparent. For that kind of work, I bill $75 an hour. And on the prototyping 3D printing stuff, since it's more hands off, I bill $50 an hour. And that's the easy part, coming up with a number, an hourly rate that you want to charge. The hard part is estimating what you think it's going to take hour-wise so that you can give them a rough idea of what this project's going to cost. So I thought about like all the components that are going to need to be designed, the mechanical mechanisms that are going to need to be designed to make the thing work, plus the various iterations of physical prototypes that I'm going to have to make. And it kind of use that as a way to kind of ballpark how many hours I think this project's going to take. And then you set the expectation with the client saying, hey, this is what I think it's going to take hour-wise. It probably won't take less hours, but it might take more hours. And then we set milestones. So I set milestones for each phase of the project, and then we check back in at the end of each milestone and kind of see what kind of hours I ran through and if we're still on target for that initial estimate of hours expected to be billed.
Heck yeah. I like that. That's always hard for...
Yeah, pricing is tough, and it's been a real trial and error thing for me for the past couple of years.
Yeah.
So do you think in-home 3D printing is going to reach a level of durability in the next, I don't know, 5 years or so, where sending things off to injection molding and co-molding places are going to be less relevant?
I think so. I think in some applications it's already there. It's so easy to print things like PETG or nylon or different carbon fiber filled filaments that have that strength that's needed for something that's more than just a prototype. So right now it's just more of a application dependent thing. But I think in the future, as the equipment gets better, as the materials get better, I think it's going to be small scale manufacturing is going to be the way to go, because it's just way more cost effective. And a lot of people are concerned about the environmental impacts of 3D printing, like microplastics, and that's a real concern. But a lot of people don't realize how much waste goes into mainstream manufacturing. So if I want this action figure designed because I'm going to take it to market and I think I'm going to sell 1 million units, but it flops and I sell 10,000 units, there's almost 1 million units sitting somewhere in a warehouse that eventually are going to end up in a landfill. Whereas with small scale manufacturing, maybe there's a lot more people doing it than these big manufacturing facilities, but they're doing it on demand and at small scale. So I believe that there's potential for it to be a lighter environmental footprint than large scale manufacturing. And that's just based on theory and just how I understand large scale manufacturing works. But
You're so smart.
Well, and then I think, you know, the recyclability of PET-G is still pretty widely discussed. I mean,
yeah,
like,
it's tough. I'm actually working on, that's a project I'm working on now, is building a filament recycler. And I'm building it with an Arduino and some old 3D printer parts, so I can take all of my failed prints, which I keep in a tub. I haven't thrown anything out yet that's failed PET-G wise. I just throw it in a tote and hang on to it. My plan is to build a grinder auger system that will take the shredded material and extrude it through a 1.75 millimeter hot end and turn it back into filament. It's very tough to do because the problem isn't extruding it into filament; it's consistent diameter. So
sure.
that's the pain point with recycling filament. But people do it really well with soda bottles.
It's not just consistent like diameter, you're also humidity and temperature. I mean, like all those things. You get your filament too dry, it's going to be brittle. You get it too wet, it's
gonna hiss and pop as you print it, and you're not going to get a good looking print. Yeah. And PET-G, which is PET-G is the consumer version of PET, polyethylene. I forget what it stands for, but soda bottles are made out of PET-G without the G. I forget what the G means. It's something that's added to it for commercial filament purposes. But a lot of people are taking old soda bottles and spiral cutting them into strips and then feeding them through an extruder to turn them into filament. It's pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's like a ongoing hot glue gun.
Yeah, that's all a 3D printer is.
3D printing is just a hot glue gun.
It's a smart hot glue gun that draws in 3 dimensions.
Oh my gosh. I've loved 3D printing. I mean, I haven't done the whole design side of it. I mean, I've gone as far as I hardly print anything for myself because my kids and all of their friends come over and they're like, print me this, print me this, print me this. But it's fun. It's cool though.
Yeah. And my whole use of 3D printing is practical prints. I enjoy designing stuff that is going to make things easier for me in my shop, in my house, or for other people. I'll occasionally print fun little trinkets and things, but I'd much rather spend my time and printer time building things that are practical. Excuse me.
I like the idea of using 3D printers as co-molding opportunities, like essentially building a cartridge bearing resting post as part of a mechanical piece, and then having the print stop so that you can then add the piece and then keep the printing project dimensionally correct around it.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
I think that there's lots of unique opportunity for that, for like pivots and mechanical joints. But again, I wonder if the materials, like when I was in college back in the millions of years ago, when dinosaurs still roamed the earth and a T1 line is how we downloaded things. You could do ABS in the 3D printing lab in the engineering school. And it was vile, foul smelling, high temperature, testy stuff. But I know there are people who set up enclosures to do ABS at home, but it's still just not that popular because it's pretty gnarly.
It's gnarly. It's fickle. I've been 3D printing for like 7 years. I've never printed ABS.
Isn't it toxic?
Yeah, it's not. I mean, all of it's up for debate whether any of it's good for you, but ABS is definitely not good for you. From a fume standpoint, the rest of the stuff's still up for debate, but ABS is definitely not good good to be putting in your lungs.
And are you doing any liquid resin printing
Yes.
at
Yep.
all?
That's more for the nerdy side of my life.
Mhm.
D&D miniatures and
Totally.
cool little statues. Be honest with you, I haven't played D&D in like 2 years. Now I get my fix playing Baldur's Gate, but when I was playing D&D, I was using liquid resin to make minis all the time.
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know where it's at. I have a D&D size mini of Jessie somewhere. When I was testing different maker scans, I made a couple of you guys D&D sized.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to bring that up to New York if you're gonna make it for Maker Camp, because we're gonna do
I'll be there.
we're gonna do a wizard tower with the cool kids.
Nice.
So if
All right.
if you want to run a wizard tower, which is basically gonna be Hero Quest Friendship Edition, let's shoot fireballs with friends kind of thing.
That sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, so fun times will be had by all, and I'll ride a wizard tower. But yeah, so I bought an EPAX X1 when the company first came out with a production unit. It's sitting on my desk over there for the sole purpose of printing D&D minis. And then the scandals of Games Workshop versus the printed Warhammer folks. You know, that's been a round and round and copyright strike, which I mean, like it is what it is. But I still think that the liquid resin printers, while you can't is the wrong word. While most in-home units typically don't produce items at a scale that is financially reasonable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nor useful, he said, kind of squinting and maybe put some bunny ears around it. I still think that the technology is awesome. And I've got an old one, and I know that they've got 8K and 16K resolution.
Yep. Yeah, I have
bigger build plates.
I have an Elegoo Mars Pro 2. It's like 4 years old. It's considered a dinosaur, but it still works good. I bought that for my business thinking I was going to monetize it. I have not made a single dollar with that machine, but it's still fun to play with.
But I mean, like, I find it faster than my filament printer, but then again, I actually have a dinosaur of a 3D filament printer. I have an Ender 3.
Oh,
no other letters, numbers, or digits behind it. I have the Ender 3.
FDM printers are getting to a point where they can almost hang with resin printers for D&D and miniatures, small scale stuff.
Yeah, I mean, almost. I know that there are people who,
there, but it's close.
You know, have print profiles put together, and I've seen some stuff come off some bamboo printers recently, just on Reddit and stuff like that, where I'm like, wow, that's real
impressive.
Sharp.
Yeah.
And I don't know if people go through the smoothing process on it or anything like that. I didn't really dive that far down, but
this is a little bit bigger than mini scale, but there's a lot of detail there. We were talking about embedding things in 3D prints. There's actually an NFC token in here that goes to my website when you tap it to a phone.
Oh, that's pretty sweet. And if you really wanted to make your own, what are they, amiibos or whatever they are?
Yeah, you can do that. There's an app for that.
And then you just need NFT, or not NFT, NFC chiclets, right?
Yeah, and they're like, they cost like 2 cents a piece. You buy them 30 at a time. It's like $6. It's a great way to make some really interesting business cards.
Yeah, well, I've seen a lot of different stuff like that. I mean, what did Luke do?
Yeah, he did
the cards.
He did the Google Drive for Maker Camp pictures with his coins 2 years ago.
Yeah,
it was a link to a Google Drive, and he wanted people to share their photos from Maker Camp to the Google Drive. That's what he did.
I never did that. I should do that.
Yeah, I have his coin somewhere. I should do that because I took a lot of pictures that year.
Yeah, I did too. I didn't take as many last year.
No, neither did I. Well, we were both chasing our children around.
I know, right? Well, I wasn't. I just gave mine a walkie-talkie, and I'm like, "Don't get lost."
Well, yeah, she's old enough. Hudson's not quite there yet.
So maker events. Are you going to Texas?
I don't know yet. That's in September, right?
September.
I'm open to it. I just haven't decided yet. Definitely going to go to Maker Camp.
And if you go to the Sawdust Talk Instagram, there is a giveaway running currently.
I saw that.
I'm gonna plug this right now.
Yeah, do it.
we
it.
do a giveaway running for an all-inclusive pass to Texas Woodworking Festival. And if you're listening to this prior to June 18th, which is next week, we will be announcing the winner of that all-access pass on the podcast live. So there's that. Go enter the giveaway. Come to Texas. It'll be fun. Maker Camp is a must, though. We, of course, are going to Maker Camp as well.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you guys are going to be in Texas?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm going to look at my schedule and see what I have going on, but that would be a lot of fun. I wanted to go last year and couldn't make it.
I wanted to go last year, too, and I didn't go. So aside from all of the crafted with machines, there's other stuff that people don't know about you. You're not just a total nerd.
No. I'm a pretty big nerd.
You are an avid mountain biker and a runner.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And we're gonna run a marathon together. I know.
Half.
Did we say marathon or half?
Half.
Okay, yeah. I've never done a marathon either, and I don't know if I have a desire to, but I will do halves all day.
You know what I think is ridiculous is after I ran my half marathon, it's like it was almost like the next question kind of thing. It's like you get engaged. When's the wedding? You get married. When are you having a baby? You do a half marathon, and they're like, "When are you doing a full marathon?" I'm like, I don't want to.
Yeah. And I have friends who do ultra marathons, which are like 26 miles plus. It's craziness.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not down for that. I will say that if you want to come to Seattle, around Thanksgiving-ish time.
Yeah, you mentioned that. That sounds awesome.
Yeah. I did it.
So yeah, I like playing outside when I'm not making stuff.
Yeah. Well, and you get your kiddo out there too with you.
Yep. Yeah, we're leaving on Friday. We're going to Tahoe for a week, so that's going to be a good time.
Nice. That'll be fun. Nice little break.
Mm-hmm. I'll still be working because that's just how I'm wired, but I'll be limited to only doing computer work.
I was gonna say I'm surprised you're not like packing, an A1 Mini or something.
Yeah, that would be cool, but my wife would kill me if I was that far into work mode on vacation. I will be in work mode every day in the evening, but I'm going to try and chill as much as I can because I haven't taken a true amount of time off in a long time.
Good for you.
So we haven't talked too much about lasers tonight, and
pew pew.
Yeah, well, awesome, right? And using lasers in your workshop is inherently just fun and badass, but do you think you could take some time to talk about some unique applications that you have found for your laser?
Yeah, so I haven't done this in a production setting yet, but it's something I've been thinking about, and there's so many different niches or industries where this would be applicable. So anybody listening, feel free to steal this idea and apply it to insert niche or industry here. But using the 2-color acrylic to make instrument panels for different instruments that need replacements or updates. So with the 2-tone acrylic, you engrave and then the color below shows through. So you might have a piece of black acrylic, and when you engrave it's white. So you get this really high contrast look. And I've been thinking about offering a service where I can recreate instrument panels for people for aviation, for heavy equipment, vehicles even. It's a really easy way to take an instrument panel and remanufacture it. So that's an interesting and unique application that I've been thinking about.
I gotcha. Yeah, there was a brief period of time where I worked in industrial screen printing, and we had a lot of clients who needed control panel overlays, right? but we were one of a handful of shops in North America that did enamel-based ink on the backside of Lexan, right? So
Oh,
it
yeah.
was fuel and spill resistant, and then it had a 3M adhesive on the back of it that was also fuel and spill and dirt resistant.
Mhm.
And I wonder if the acrylic is going to be able to do the same thing. Right now, the production speed is not the same,
Yeah.
but you don't have to run it through a die cutter per se, assuming your laser is gutsy enough, right?
Yeah. So
Um,
I'm using a 100-watt thunder laser, so I can punch through some thick stuff, and most of the two-tone acrylic I'm using is a 1/16 of an inch thick, so it cuts it easy. I if you're alluding to whether you think it would hold up to fuel or chemicals, I believe so. I haven't tested it, but it's solidified plastic, both layers, so it should conceivably hold up to most things. I'm gonna pour some acetone on some tomorrow and see what happens.
you're going to either make napalm or solve a riddle, right?
Yeah, right.
Perfect. Yeah. No, I think that the applications for what we do are so widespread that I think getting them in front of an audience and realize that there are people buying what we're brainstorming,
Mm-hmm.
right, is just wild.
Well, yeah, it makes things. Somebody who has a crazy idea for a thing but doesn't know how to make that thing, they can go to somebody like one of us, and we can make that thing without charging them a $10,000 tooling fee to set up some sort of $500,000 equipment to do it.
Right.
And that's what's really changing the manufacturing world, is the ability to rapidly prototype things or rapidly create shelf-ready items.
Yeah, and man, I was just thinking, with a desktop 80 to 100-watt laser, I wonder what that's doing to the die cutting industry, just in general. Like die makers are a union, right? Like
Yeah.
it is a trade, it is a craft, it is a
Well,
club.
I know consumer and prosumer and even commercial CO2 lasers and diode lasers are not stealing any of the vinyl die cutting market, because vinyl and CO2 laser means chlorine gas, and that's how you have a bad day.
Oh, you never let me have any fun.
I had to cut something, and I cut it and then realized like half hour later, oh crap, that was polyvinyl chloride. How am I still alive? But I have really ridiculously good ventilation on my machine, so it probably just got pumped out of my shop and into the atmosphere, which I know that's great. But
You got a 3-eyed squirrel in your backyard
yeah,
now.
I can assure you it was not intentional. It was one of those, oh crap, did I just do that? And it's also bad for your laser, because chlorine gas is corrosive, so it can eat away the lens.
Now, when people, I'm like taking like 4 conversations back, but again, it's just sort of the brainstorm that's happening, and I am a spaz. Everybody's pretty aware of this. When fiber impregnated filaments started coming around in like 2017 as being something that like I could go to Micro Center to pick up, right?
Mm-hmm.
People were choosing to use extrusion nozzles that had jeweled extruders on the end so that they could handle the abrasion of the fibers as they were going through. Is that still
Yeah,
a thing, or
you want to use a hardened nozzle when you're using any abrasive filament? You can use a brass nozzle. It's just going to wear out much quicker, because as the filament comes through, it's like running a surf prep sander against a piece of wood. It eats the wood away. Well, if you take carbon fiber or glass filled filament, it's going to slowly eat that brass away, because it's an abrasive. So you want something like a hardened steel nozzle, and a lot of the modern printers already come with that. I know the bamboo machines come with that, so that's not something you have to worry about in most situations if you're using a modern printer. And you don't even have to worry about it on an older printer. It's like $2 to replace a nozzle and put a hardened steel nozzle on it.
I remember, I don't know. I feel like it's been like a year and a half since, the 3D printers have really, really hit the maker community.
Mhm.
But just seeing people struggling with nozzles and tips and all this stuff, that was one of the reasons I was like apprehensive about getting a 3D printer. But I've had mine since Christmas and I haven't really done anything to it. It just does.
Works. What did
I
you
love-
get?
It's a A1 Mini.
Okay. I think
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah, they're great little machines.
Yeah.
Well, and then the
Yeah.
bed leveling. Oh my God,
Yep.
the number of conversations about bed leveling.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't miss manually leveling my bed. I remember sheet of printer paper folded in half, every corner of the machine in the center. It was every time you'd go to print, if you bump the thing, you have to do it all over again.
Yeah, I know. No, thank you.
And then the print, something that takes 20 minutes on my Bamboo used to take an hour and 40 minutes on an Ender.
Yeah.
But you know what? That trial and tribulations of printing something with those machines is really how I got my head wrapped around the whole world of 3D printing and knowing how things work and whatnot. So it was I went to college on that one.
It's like the equivalent of using hand tools before you use power tools.
Mm-hmm. You will learn to appreciate the power tools when you have to use the hand tools.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah. You try ripping a board lengthwise with a handsaw and then try sliding it through a bandsaw, and boy, you got to be thankful for what you got.
Yes, sir.
The thought of thicknessing a board without a thickness planer gives me anxiety.
Oh man.
Resawing by hand, no thanks.
No. Who was shoot, what is Cowdog? Chris Cowdog. Oh my gosh. That I don't know how he does like 90% of his stuff with hand tools.
That's patience to the nth degree.
It's patience and some muscle.
Yeah.
Look,
he's not a big dude
is
either.
Too far to walk if you've got the time, so says Mark Twain. So
This is true.
The time we are at about minute 48 of the show. That means that we do need to take another lap through sponsors. Mr. Gensel, is there anything that you wanted to talk about on the show that we didn't get around to talking about tonight?
That escapes me. If you guys have anything for me, I'm all ears.
I think this is great.
Yeah, no, we can nerd out about 3D scanners after the show. Maybe we'll create some Patreon content or something.
There we go.
Anyway, so quick lap through sponsors and then we'll do final question. All right, dude?
Sounds good to me.
Thanks again, Surf Prep. You make wonderful abrasives. We are grateful for your support. Listeners, if you are thinking, you know what? The only abrasive that I will use on my fancy tools has a number and then the letter M next to it and rhymes with Schmoobatron. Think again. Go check out Surf Prep's abrasives. They're wonderful, and their foam back line of abrasives is awesome for getting into all of the nooks and crannies. If you are doing complex work, or if you're spending any time with a CNC that is doing a lot of Z-axis work, you need to get into tight places, check out the foam backed abrasives from Surf Prep. They're awesome, and if you're shopping there, use coupon code Sawdust Talk. If you want a Sawdust Talk shirt because your sleep just hasn't been so great, and you were thinking, you know what, I need protection from my nightmares in the form of a Sawdust Talk t-shirt, go to kcbombshell.com, get you a Sawdust Talk t-shirt, and Jessie and I, in spirit, from long distance, will protect you from your brain reorganizing its thoughts while you sleep. You're welcome. And Makers for St. Jude Project, if you make cool stuff and you think childhood cancer is bogus, and you want to do something about it that is measurable and wonderful, get a hold of Mike, get a hold of Jessie, get a hold of me. we'll get you set up so that we can create a raffle, and the proceeds of your raffle will go straight to St. Jude, and you can help fight childhood cancer. And win some prizes too if you do it in the month of June and July. And finally, Patreon. It's only $5, cool kids. You know what? That's like 3 tacos at Taco Bell these days, right? Skip 3 tacos. Actually, don't skip 3 tacos. Go get 3 tacos. Don't get them from Taco Bell. But also, check out our Patreon/Sawdust Talk. We appreciate any and all support that you guys can give us so that we can get to the places and give you the high fives. Final question time, bro. Every week that we run the show, we ask our guests to come up with a motivational thought or a quote or a reason that you get out of bed that you want to share, or just a reason that somebody else should open the door to their shop, get in there, grab a tool, heck, pick up a 3D scanner and apply it in ways that neither of us on this show had even considered. What would you like to share with the audience tonight?
Even when you think you've hit rock bottom, I think that's a good time to reinvent yourself and head in a new direction and find new ways to make people happy, and just enjoy this short amount of time we have on this planet and make all the things.
I'm so happy.
Good.
I'm so happy. Patrick, you have been a longtime friend of mine, and you have helped me. I don't even know how many times in a pinch. I appreciate you so much. I am really stinking proud of you. You know. But thank you so much for coming on tonight and chatting with us. It was lovely. And hopefully we'll see you in Texas, and we'll see you in New York, and fun will be had.
New York for sure. Texas, I'm going to say 90%. We'll see.
Sweet.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody. Episode 159 of Sawdust Talk with Patrick Gensel, crafted with machines. And TJ, go ahead and take us out.
We will see you all next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. That is assuming that I'm not sheltering from a tornado.
Bye.
Bye.